Discovering the calm beneath the worry. Accessing Inner Stillness, Chapter 1, Burning Out. Look closely at the busy mind, always reacting, always seeking. See how it drives so many in your world. Their days are consumed with urgent tasks, incessant demands. From the moment they awaken, their thoughts are dominated by the next thing. Always rushing, striving, stressed. They believe this state of constant agitation is normal. But it is not the natural state of the human soul. It is the egoic mind that pulls them in countless directions, never at peace. Consider the corporate executive. His days are filled with high-pressure decisions, endless meetings and phone calls. He reacts on impulse to every work crisis that arises. His mind is always occupied, planning, strategizing, analyzing. At home, he continues processing thoughts about work. He cannot quiet his racing mind, even for a moment. He projects this agitation onto his family. When they speak to him, he does not truly listen, only thinks of what to say in response. His body is tense, carrying the burden of stress. He relies on caffeine and prescription drugs to push through the exhaustion. His sleep is fretful, not restful. Yet he continues believing this constant busyness, worry, and reactivity are essential. It is all the unchecked mind demanding his attention. The ego thrives on the drama it creates. But beneath this turbulent surface rests an ocean of calm. In the spaces between his thoughts, there is presence, silence, and peace. He need only pause and sink into this inner stillness. This restful realm cannot be found out there in the noise and chaos. But it waits patiently within for him to access. He carries it wherever he goes if he remembers to stop and breathe consciously. This present moment is his gateway. All he must do is slow down, detach from mental noise and sink into being. Then he will remember what it is to truly live, freed from the ego's incessant demands. Chapter 2, An Unexpected Wake-Up Call. The egoic mode of operating seems normal because everyone around you exists in the same state of unconsciousness. Restlessly pursuing futile goals, your days blur together, you rarely question this relentless doing, striving, reacting. Until something unexpected pierces the trance, a wake-up call. For the executive, it arrived in the form of a health scare. His chronic stress finally manifested physically as dangerously high blood pressure. His doctor warned that if he continued living this way, far worse could follow: a heart attack, stroke. Still, the executive dismissed the scare, popping more pills to lower his blood pressure and carry on. The true wake-up call came a week later. Frustrated after another long, draining workday, the executive snapped angrily at his family for small annoyances. Seeing the stunned hurt on his young son's face, something shifted. He realized he was harming those he loved most through his unconscious reactivity. Pay attention to these moments of cracking open. Your soul is speaking, telling you change must happen. You have strayed too far from presence and peace. In his guilt and remorse, the executive finally listened. His family was suffering, and so was his health. His waking hours were dominated by worry and agitation. This could not continue. He resolved to seek a different way, to bring calmness and consciousness into his life before it was too late. Each of you will have your own moment of reckoning, when the pain of unconscious living overrides the comfort of normalcy. Stay alert for these openings. When the wake-up call comes, answer it courageously. Say yes to the journey inward. Though you are filled with regret, something good has come of it. Your awakening has begun. Chapter 3, The Path to Presence. When the veils lift and you commit to awakening, the journey begins. There are countless routes: meditation, time in nature, simplifying your life. But the destination is one: presence. For the executive, the path started with establishing a daily meditation practice. At first, his mind resisted. He set a timer for 10 minutes, but thoughts intruded constantly. The ego does not relinquish control easily. Persist despite the mind's protest. Gradually, you will access the spaces between thoughts, glimpse the stillness that remains always. He began witnessing his thoughts during meditation rather than engaging them. Yes, anxiety about a work issue would arise. But instead of following that trail, he observed it, then gently returned his focus to his breath. In this way, he dissolved attachment to the thought. It was allowed to be there, but it no longer controlled his consciousness. The power of non-reaction, simple but profoundly freeing. The executive also walked barefoot on the beach each morning, feeling sensations, absorbing the beauty around him. No cell phone, just stillness. He designated tech-free times, putting space between himself and the constant stimuli. He refrained from reactive thinking and instead tuned inward, aligning with presence. There were days his patience was tested. But he persisted, trusting this was the path to peace. And gradually, clarity came. Moments of inner stillness grew. He witnessed their power. Each small choice brought him closer to presence. When you devote yourself thus, the light within will begin to flow through you. The destination draws nearer. Stay committed. Chapter 4: Leading with Equilibrium. As the executive continued relinquishing old patterns of operating, presence took root. He began responding rather than reacting. At work, he paused before immediately answering emails, taking 3 conscious breaths first. This allowed him to respond from stillness rather than impulse. Instead of anxiously overplanning, he surrendered outcomes to the universe. His mind quieted, trusting things to unfold as they should. In meetings, he actively listened without interrupting others or formulating his response. He received what was said fully. This deep listening diffused previous tensions. The executive's calm presence gradually transformed his workplace. Rather than issuing urgent demands, he spoke with compassion. People matched his patience and clarity. He encouraged his team to find balance, spend time recharging. There was no longer a cult of busyness, but an ethos of conscious productivity. At home, the executive gave his family undivided presence. Instead of work matters occupying his mind, he engaged his children attentively. His wife observed the anger vanish, replaced by deep listening, appreciation, laughter. His calmness filled their home. When challenges arose, the executive dealt with them purposefully but without anxiety. He knew inner peace could sustain him through any storm. Pay attention to how even one person anchoring in presence can positively influence those around them, dissolving unconscious patterns. Like submerging a tea bag into hot water, the executive's calm presence gradually infused into his family, his workplace, his being.